We stayed with an ancient tribe.
Play the theme music. Hello and welcome to this episode of Tripology. I'm Alan and I'm here with the ever impressionable Adam.
You could tell me anything and I'll believe it.
Yeah, and we've been putting that to the test here in Chitral.
Yeah, we have. We've got a funny story to tell you today, haven't we?
Oh, we've got several funny stories to tell you today. We've been sojourning about, you and I, together, like sort of 2/3 of the Three Musketeers.
I feel like we've gone back in time a little bit.
Tell me how.
It just feels like a simpler time. It feels like a time when there were no roads and when people were living in the olden days.
And people don't worry about washing their clothes
or getting money out of an ATM.
That
kind
sort of thing, yeah.
Always a sore subject, guys.
Me and Adam have spent the last half an hour trying to procure money from an ATM to no avail.
No, luckily there were 8 ATMs in the town that we're in, which is what, I don't know how many people are in Chitral, but it's minute. It's a very small town for how many banks there are.
Yeah, I would say there's maybe 10 people to a bank here. And
it's a pretty good ratio going in.
Before coming here, we took the maximum amount of an ATM in 4 separate transactions.
We emptied that bad boy.
Yeah. So I got the max out, Adam got the max out. I went back for more, Adam went back for more. We thought, that'll last us. It's not lasted us. And that's not because we haven't been frugal.
No.
That's just we've been out here a while in the mountains and we've just been spending normal amount of money. Yeah. Don't judge us. Don't ask too many questions about it. It's time for us to get more money out. We've tried to no avail.
We've been paying for everything in cash, which is normal.
Yeah.
On the assumption that we would be able to get some more cash, and that's unfortunately not been the case.
That's proven a challenge here in Chitral, but not for. I mean, the cash would have got run out far sooner if not for the kindness and generosity of some of the people we've met.
I know. We're continuing the theme, I sense.
Yeah, because we went for a little coffee the other day. I love a morning coffee, don't I?
Honestly, if there's one thing you need to know about this guy, get him a coffee in the morning and he'll be a happy bunny.
And a lot of our Tripology audience know you love the local cuisines and everywhere you go, you're always a fan. So you will sample chai more often. I think 9 times out of 10, if I had to have one for the rest of my life, it would be coffee.
Okay.
If I had to choose between the best chai and the worst coffee, I would choose to have the worst coffee.
Yeah, I mean, if that's not a reason to email in, I think that's really controversial.
Do you?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Do you think it's just wrong? It's just absolutely... I'm not talking like Nescafe instant freeze-dried coffee.
Right.
I'm talking like an Arabica bean that's sort of been plucked, the last one off the tree.
But does that mean that let's just take Starbucks so people will have some sort of measure here, a gauge. Would you rather take a medium-sized Americano from Starbucks over the best chai you've ever had?
For the rest of my life.
Oh, the rest of your life.
I'm talking if I had to drink it forever, that's my drink now.
I still might choose chai.
Yeah, you see,
maybe.
If it's for the rest of my life, I'm choosing that mediocre Starbucks.
Okay, I'm sort of anti-capitalist.
Yeah. And I'm using it because I'm getting one every day for the rest of my life, and I'm using that mermaid image as wallpaper. And if you walk into my house, the whole thing's plastered in it.
No, but we managed to find a little cafe recommended by a local, and the guy making it actually cared about the coffee he was making.
He did it in a tiny little, what do you call those things?
Don't ask me. A drip thing?
Yeah.
Coffee drip system, Vietnamese?
A little coffee drip system, one of those stovetop coffee makers. He was making a coffee, he was enjoying it, but we were sat there for about 2 minutes before someone sat down next to us and basically said, "Hi there, I'm from here, I'm an intellectual. I'm a bit different from the other people here. I've got some sort of unusual beliefs about the world. If you read *Sapiens* by Yuval Noah Harari, we got talking to him, chatting about all sorts of things, and he basically said, "I'll take you around for the day."
Yeah, I mean, the conversation over a coffee, it was incredible.
Yeah.
I was listening to you two back and forth, trying not to add too much, letting you guys go for it.
What do you mean by that?
I just didn't think I had that much to say. You guys were talking about books.
Yeah.
And I don't know books, do I?
You've read some books.
I've read 7 books, and they all start with Harry Potter.
In your life, you've read 7 books, and all of them are by J.K. Rowling?
No, I also read one called Holes.
Yeah.
You know that one?
Yeah, with Stanley Yelnats.
And I think Shia LaBeouf played the character in the film. So
good book, that.
maybe 8 books.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it.
That's a great book, though.
Yeah, it is a really good book.
Yeah. Okay, well, good.
But yeah, I just felt like out of my depth, shall we say.
Were you hoping that we'd mention holes at some point? And sort of ready for it?
Yeah, or say, well, enough about that. What do you think about Arsenal Football Club?
Yeah, right.
Change the subject to either wine or football, maybe the only 2 subjects I actually know.
So we were getting a bit intellectual, though, me and that guy.
It was really interesting to listen to.
Yeah, and he paid for breakfast and for the coffee. No ATM needed.
Yeah. We should have ordered more in hindsight.
Yeah. I want to address this a little bit because I was messaging someone the other day and they went, how's Pakistan? And I said, it's great. I've never experienced such generosity and kindness as I have from the Pakistani people.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, be careful because maybe it's part of their culture to offer, but they really do expect you to pay. And maybe
refuse the gesture.
I want to make it really clear. We do refuse the gesture.
Yeah, sometimes multiple times.
And it's almost always like, no, please stop refusing.
Yeah.
It's part of our culture. You are our guest. We want to help you. We want you to feel welcome.
And to that point, I've actually offered things on multiple occasions to Pakistani people and they always refuse.
I've offered something a couple of times and they've accepted.
Yeah.
A little cornbread slice at a coffee shop.
Oh, yeah. Couldn't get rid of it quick enough.
It was bland.
It was bland.
It was
Not
dry.
everything you try is good. All right. Yeah. Not everything. You want it to be good, but yeah, it wasn't.
I was desperate. I was like, if one time these Pakistani people just accept my offer, please let it be this cornbread.
I was dunking it in that tea until it went cold.
Yeah, crikey.
Just to get some flavour in it. But anyway, no, lovely, lovely thing. And I think that, well, I mean, if you're Pakistani and you have a voice on this, please let us know because we've only been shown an incredible amount of hospitality and made to feel so welcome here. It's been really exceptional.
Yeah.
I did say the other day, didn't I? Out of every country I've ever been to, in terms of the frequency of these gestures, far and above
the kindness.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that because you said that you often get this sort of treatment in other countries, but this is the place where the kindness repeats itself most often.
Well, it's like almost 3-4 times a day, really.
That's amazing. Well, speaking of kindness, I said to intellectual Pakistani man that I'm really interested
nice tune.
in learning about Islam some more, and he said, well, I'll take you to the local mosque and I'll translate everything the Imam has to say.
Yeah, get a meeting set up with the Imam, which was really incredible.
Pretty cool. So we went to the mosque, we sat down, we explored the whole area, and then we sat down and we were there with sort of an imposing, I would say, kind-faced,
very kind,
bearded Imam who sat us down and agreed to talk to us a little bit about Islam.
Yeah, it was lovely, actually, wasn't it? We were sort of sitting on the floor with our legs crossed and we were offered green tea.
I was like a spiritual kid in a proverbial religious candy shop.
If there is one man I want to be with when I'm just about to enter into a discussion with someone about religion, it is you.
Yeah, because look, a lot of people have preconceptions about everything, and Islam is one of the things what people have preconceptions about.
Yeah.
I'm just interested in culture, and when I'm traveling, I think understanding a religious culture is part of understanding the culture. Understanding the food culture is part of understanding the culture. And if you can have a laugh and drink a Starbucks on the way, then that's just great.
I'll tell you 2 books I haven't read.
Yeah.
The Bible and the Quran.
Well, exactly. So I thought, wouldn't it be great to get this information directly from the Imam? So he sat down and he started telling us about Islam, and the intellectual Pakistani man was translating.
Yeah, it was lovely. It was really, really nice.
So some stuff would be said to us in Urdu or Chhatrali.
Yeah.
And then it was immediately translated, and we heard a lot of stuff. We heard, look, this is what I think. He said, I actually, your not being Muslims is not your failure. It's my failure that I haven't spread the word of Allah properly to you, was one of the things he said to us. I thought was quite interesting.
That's really interesting, isn't it? I guess that's kind of ubiquitous, isn't it? I guess that would apply to all imams and people that sort of try and spread the faith, the religion.
Yeah. I was listening quite intently.
Yeah.
At one point there was a switch. I don't know if you noticed it. Because
was it when he stood up?
Well, I was listening to everything he had to say about Islam and Allah. I really was fascinated and trying to learn. There was a moment for me where it swayed from me being interested to me trying to press him with my prior knowledge of Islam. Did you notice when that happened?
Yeah, I was pretty sure. Well, you started asking questions back, whereas before then we were just sort of
Listening to what he had to say
intently.
because he's the expert.
Yeah.
And at some point I was like, I kind of looked at you like, he's going to love this one. I said, a lot of Muslims consider the Quran to be a miracle because of all the palindromes and interesting features that occur when it's read in the original Arabic. Do you think the Quran can be enjoyed in a translation such as Urdu or English? I thought that is going to blow his socks off, that question.
Yeah, it was a goodie. Do you think that the intellectual translated it in the way that you wanted it said?
I didn't hear the word palindrome.
I'll be honest.
But
maybe I slurped my green tea too loud.
But I just didn't think the Imam was particularly impressed.
Yeah, I don't know.
He just went, yeah, no, I think you can read it in a translation. I think that's fine.
Yeah, well, we did have this discussion afterwards, and I thought maybe he does speak Arabic. But also, if he doesn't, maybe he feels like that's
a different perspective.
Yeah, it would be hard, wouldn't it, for someone like that running a mosque to say, who doesn't speak Arabic.
Yeah.
To say, actually, yeah, I think some of the magic is lost. The meaning could be completely different, to be honest.
I panicked because he wasn't impressed by that. I just started listing places that I'd been that were of Islamic significance. I was just like, I've been to the Dome of the Rock. Yeah, it got really hectic.
It was sweet. His son came in as well, didn't he? And really softly spoken, very
gentle
sweet guy.
Man.
Yeah, and he seemed to know a hell of a lot as well. He actually teaches Islam, doesn't he?
Yeah, in the US.
Yeah, which is exceptional. But what a wonderful experience. For the first 20 minutes of the conversation, we were being videoed. Do you remember that?
Yeah, there was a bit of a video camera out, wasn't there?
Yeah,
and
I thought, God,
goodness me.
He's got more memory on his phone than me.
Yeah, he kept on filming, yeah. Waiting, because it was translated to us after that he was gunning pretty hard for a live conversion.
Yeah.
Afterwards, we learned that what was being translated as, oh, it'd be nice if you guys learned some more about Islam, was actually like, you guys should convert right now.
Yeah. And we'll get it on camera.
So there you go. Yeah. I had a really positive experience. I should say, never did it feel like a pressure cooker environment or anything other than just absolutely welcomed into the mosque.
Yeah, really relaxed chat, educational as well. Lovely to hear someone talk about it.
Lovely tea as well.
Yeah, yeah, really nice.
If I could choose between a Starbucks, a chai, or that green tea for the rest of my life. Yeah, no, it was very beautiful and peaceful, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was an amazing thing to be a part of. And the mosque itself was gorgeous as well, wasn't it? Walking around that. It's so funny with mosques. We also went to one in Peshawar, and I didn't say this on the episode, but I meant to, was that when you walk into a mosque, there could be upwards of 50 people there, 100 people praying or walking around, but it's honestly like someone's turned the volume down to zero.
Incredibly zen and silent. The modes of religions are often that they either use intense noise or intense quiet in order to evoke this sense of spirituality. Hinduism, of course, being a great example of people that turn the noise up to 11 in order to get people vibing with the spiritualism. Because my goodness, that one temple to Kali I went to, my ears are still ringing.
I'd love to do it again. That was really sweet for him to spend his time.
It was. And then our intellectual Pakistani friend found his brother who had a car and drove us off into the wilderness to try and see some animals and have some more chai. And really, we didn't see any animals, but it was fine all the mess.
Is it the first time that you put salt in your chai?
Yeah, well, talk about that because you are Apologies, resident foodie.
Yeah, I've had salted butter in coffee before, but never salt in chai.
Right.
And I didn't mind it.
I liked it.
Yeah, we've said on the pod before, we always ask for zero sugar, right? Because obviously the drinks in this part of the world are loaded with sugar. Yeah. I've even seen people put 2 scoops of sugar in their cup before the chai goes in, which is already loaded with sugar. So you got to be a bit careful. But this had no sugar in going in, and then we topped it up with salt, which was the intellectual Pakistani man's recommendation. And I've got to say, I loved it.
It was very nice.
3 for 3.
There is a school of thought that hydration is impossible without the inclusion of salt. It helps the water get into your cells. So maybe the Pakistani people are onto something.
Really?
Really, that's true, man.
My goodness, talk about being hydrated.
And as if there wasn't more to explore here in Pakistan, we had to leave the intellectual Pakistani man behind because awaiting us was a little jeep to a neighbouring valley. Yeah, where we would go and visit the Kalash people. We'll head there after a meditation break. like four wheels spinning eternally under the chassis of a Jeep heading towards Kalash Valley. Is it Kalash Valley?
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
I'm pretty sure it is. Kalashi people. It's a magical place, isn't it?
It's all kalashing off over there. We got there. We decided, let's go and see the Kalash people because, my goodness, if you've ever opened a page of a Nat Geo book, you might have seen them with their colourful garb, looking all the more unusual in a country that's dominated by Islam. These people have just grown up completely as a separate entity, essentially, right?
Yeah, no, it's quite incredible. And it's the women that wear the really interesting, beautiful clothes, isn't it? Made by hand themselves. And they're almost like neon in colour, some of them.
Bright regalia. We simply had to go and see it. Let's rewind a little because the journey to get there was pretty bizarre, man.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you for why. I've never been to a country with as many checkpoints as Pakistan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's almost not worth putting your passport and visa back in your pocket, is it?
Every 100 metres,
Yeah.
I'm asked for a passport and a visa.
And you would think, can't you speak to the one in 100 metres time and then just let them know that you've seen...
Sometimes I can
the docs.
see the next checkpoint when I'm at the first checkpoint.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I've written down my visa number and my passport. I'm honestly, you've got an AK-47 and I'm happy to do it.
Yeah.
Can you phone your friend or even a cup and string would suffice and just let them know that you've checked me and the chances of me being replaced by a non-visa bearing imposter
Yeah.
is very slim indeed.
Also, I don't know how often the boss comes down and checks whether they're working, but between yourselves, lads, have a day off.
Ain't it?
Like, just take it in turns.
Let these ones through.
Do 3 days a
A
week.
burgundy passport on your way. So after all that bureaucracy, we arrived in Bumbaret,
We
which
did.
is just one village within the wider Kalash Valley.
The biggest as
The
well.
biggest village.
The biggest and the most commercial. We heard other people in neighbouring villages calling it too built up, too busy, too commercial, too many guest houses, too many restaurants. I think you could probably still count the number of restaurants and guest houses on two hands.
I mean, having been to Kasol, it didn't feel very commercial at all.
No.
The Kalash people, right? They've been there since like 400 BC.
Yeah, over 2,000 years ago.
People say perhaps they're descendants of the warriors of Alexander the Great when he first came into that region, and they practice a sort of ancient Hinduism, animism kind of thing. People have tried to convert them to Islam.
Yeah.
Simply said no. Don't want to do it. I want to do my ancient Hinduism. And my goodness, man, I was excited to see these people.
Yeah, I mean, it's evident immediately, isn't it? Because the men and women and the children, the males and females are all playing in the streets together in the school playground and stuff. And that's something we haven't seen that much of, if we're honest.
Yeah, one of the things that's notable about Pakistan, again, talking all about how friendly people have been, is that all the people what have been friendly have been male, on account of the fact it is sometimes difficult to see females out and about.
Yeah, true, but not in these villages. In
these
Valley.
villages, it's almost as if interaction between the sexes is encouraged.
So much so that we went to a wedding ceremony yesterday.
We got invited. We were walking down the street and we got invited to a wedding ceremony. Oh my goodness. Just, they were like, oh, guys, come in here. There's a wedding going on.
Yeah, and we were like, oh, but we don't know the bride or the groom or any of you here, so
they said that'll be okay. Eat an uncontrollable amount of rice.
Yeah, let's have a platter. It was a platter, wasn't it? Oh, that'll do us fine. No, you've got one each.
They brought such an extraordinary amount of rice out. Now, I struggle with this sort of thing because I was under the psychological impression that it would be rude to leave some food.
Right.
I ate. Was it more rice than you've ever seen anyone eat?
I think so. It was about the portion of a biryani that a restaurant might cook up for the entire evening.
Yeah, a bit, wasn't it?
And then it arrived on the platter, and even the guy next to us, he had shared with his friend.
Yeah,
but we got one each. So,
well, I was eating it and thinking, oh, I am so polite. Yeah. They're going to love me at this wedding. And I was seeing how much you were eating and thinking, they're going to think Adam is so rude.
So out of
that
order.
Is so out of order being invited to a wedding. When we were finished, they looked at my plate like, geez, okay, can I help you with anything else, sir?
Do you need any more?
And Adam had maybe had a quarter and they were like, good, sir. Thank you. That's a respectable amount. You've left some for the children.
Very reasonable. And then we had the token photographs afterwards with all the men in the courtyard. It was really, really magical.
Do you know something crazy?
Go on.
That was my first wedding.
Ever?
Yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah.
First wedding?
Yeah.
Oh my God. We'll have to get you to another one soon.
Maybe it's a function of me, and I've never realised it before. Maybe I go out of control at weddings and eat rice.
Yeah.
I'm going to a wedding in January.
Yeah,
You best boil up some rice because I'm crazy.
the bride and groom have got to add a rice budget if you're coming
Yeah, exactly.
to the buffet. But no, the people are...
When they throw the rice at the end, I'm there hoovering it up.
the people are really special, aren't they? We had some decent food. We had some amazing local honey.
Yeah.
For breakfast. Walnuts they use all
With
the
a
time.
bee in it.
Yeah, I ate a dead bee. I don't know if I'm proud of that.
How was it?
It was really sweet. I would say that the
Hold on
honey...
a second. It's rice for breakfast.
Rice for breakfast? You can't have rice for breakfast. I would say the honey tasted more like a mix between honey and marmalade. It had sort of an orange zing, citrusy zing. But with that walnut bread as well, they use loads of walnuts there, and also the apricot seed, don't they?
Yeah. How was the bee itself? How did the little insect taste?
I think that might be the citrusy zing that it gives. You've had ants before, right?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they taste a little bit like lemon.
Sometimes.
Yeah, they have.
That's the folic acid.
Yeah, is it really?
I think so.
Not the citric acid.
Maybe.
But no, I loved it. That was such a special moment. We stayed in a traditional.
Well, just briefly mention the walnuts in the food.
So we've had walnut tea.
Yeah.
Tea's got to mention a few times. We've had walnut in bread. What else have we had walnut in? Surely not another thing.
Tea, bread, that's it.
Yeah,
but why do they use the walnuts? Because the abundance of the walnut trees.
Yeah, they just grow everywhere, don't they?
Yeah.
They grow everywhere around there. We had some fresh walnuts off of a tree. I would argue they weren't quite ready.
Yeah, they weren't ready.
They were quite bitter and flavourless. But the kid that gave them to us, absolute dream.
But you enjoy the food in the Kalash Valley?
Yeah, I loved it. We stayed in a traditional guest house.
Good. And that concludes this week's Rice for Breakfast.
Wise.
Yeah, so we were exploring the Kalash Valley.
Yeah.
And we came across just a little guy.
Yeah.
And he said hello.
Well, he said hello, and evidently spoke English, didn't he?
Very good English. And he decided, I said to him, I'm interested in seeing some religious stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so he took us up to this ancient altar.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really, really quite amazing, because I feel like stuff like that, especially in a tiny little village that feels untouched, really. We kind of went to this sacred place that I don't know if everyone gets to go to.
Yeah, the original altar was thousands of years old, and it just recently been rebuilt by these people. It had like horses' heads carved out of wood coming out.
4 of them, yeah. It was incredibly simple, wasn't it? Rectangular in shape.
Really simple. And this is like a sort of religion akin to paganism. It's sort of like ancient Hinduism. So very dance-based worship.
Yeah, it was amazing to get to, because we had to go down sort of a ravine into a river and then back up the other side, and we were being followed by 2 little village kids that were creating all sorts of
walnuts and stuff.
Yeah, creating all sort of mischief, climbing trees and jumping down. And I thought, my goodness, those were the days.
Yeah, man, it was good though. And then they showed us the place where they dance at festival time,
which is coming up. It's a real shame we're not going to be there, isn't it?
And then they took us to a graveyard.
Yeah.
Bones sticking out of graves in a very hoi polloi fashion. Open caskets just cast around.
Yeah.
And just open bones sticking out, skulls I saw.
Oh, you saw a skull, yeah. You said, Adam, look at that really round, smooth rock that looks exactly like a skull.
Yeah.
And I was like, what, that one there? And you were like, yeah, that's a skull. And it sent shivers down my spine. But does that sort of stuff bother you?
No, not very phobic of morbidity.
No,
no,
just like sort of see it and move on kind of thing.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's because I'm so used to seeing bones in museums and stuff, you know? Bones would freak me out less than seeing a corpse with its skin still on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different context though, isn't it? Seeing just a skull there by the side of the...
Well, there was a thunderstorm at the time. I was worried that something was going to get reanimated. We decided to climb the mountain though, didn't we? With that kid. That kid was like, hey, come with me, we can go higher and see the whole valley.
Better view, yeah. It was a really nice view. It wasn't getting dark, but it certainly wasn't early, was it? It was towards the end of the afternoon, and I was in my flip-flops.
You were in flip-flops, so you didn't know if you were going to do it originally, and when you decided to push along, you were lagging behind a little way.
And it wasn't just climbing up a hill either. I mean, these are some pretty sharp rocks. What is it, mostly slate in that region?
Yeah, I'd say so. A bit of slate, metamorphic, sedimentary, all that sort of stuff.
Imagine that pointing up, incredibly bristle, break off, stab you in the foot. I mean, I wasn't I wasn't down for it. And I was slow, wasn't I? Look, be honest, Alan, I was slow.
You were a bit slow. You were lagging behind. I was going with him. Turned around. There was no Adam. I shouted your name. I went, Adam. No response.
No response, because what had happened was I didn't see that you'd turned left and taken a route up the mountain. I thought you'd gone on a little bit further and then turned left. So I just walked a bit further on and then turned left up the mountain. But what happened was I was actually then trapped behind a huge rock and the sound was being blocked. So I couldn't hear you calling me. You couldn't hear me calling you. And then you thought I was dead, didn't you?
Well, I was okay about it. And he said, I'm going to run down and see.
Yeah, but he was also in flip-flops, so maybe.
But then I heard him panic.
Oh.
He was like, I'll go and find Adam. He went down and I heard him go, Adam? Adam! Adam! and then I was like, oh my God.
Put that skull back.
My friend's dead.
Yeah. Well, did you really think that for a split second?
For a split second, I thought it would be just like Adam to fall off the edge of this cliff in his sandals.
Bloody typical.
And I was like, did I say you should come? Did I push him too far?
Yeah.
The guy really panicked. And then he found you. He's like,
yeah, he was holding his chest, wasn't he? Bless him. He was really, really worried.
Yeah.
And then we managed to get all the way down. And that was really the end of the story, wasn't it?
It was our time in Kalash.
Yeah, it was nice. And then we went back for some wicked grub again. But
Hold on, it's rice for breakfast.
2 times in one episode. But that would be the thing to do, I think, isn't it? If you want to go and experience that part of Pakistan, very, very different from lots of other areas of Pakistan, obviously.
Yeah.
Amazing, beautiful scenery, really rugged.
Yeah, and really explore as well. We spent one day in Bumbaret, and then we went the next day to the neighbouring village of Rumbur.
Correct.
Thank you. And then today we had an awesome walk. We went all the way to this Afghan village where people from Afghanistan migrated about 500 years ago.
Yeah, it's really quite incredible.
They have all these old 100-year, 200-year-old wooden structures. It's a beautiful hike to get there.
Yeah, it was really, really lovely along the valley, along the river. And it's really quite an incredible story, isn't it? Like migrating that long ago. And they are Muslim. Yeah. And they are about, I think, a day's walk from the Afghanistan border. But we were again received with so much.
You're so good at getting stuck into things, because I would have looked at that village and then walked away.
Would you?
But you kind of, I don't want to say you worm your way in. No, you don't. But like people, you kind of just have an open attitude, and people say like, do you want some tea? Do you want some food? And you're like very good at being like, yeah,
cool.
I would. And so they took us into the village, into someone's house, and we sat there and had tea and some sort of, what was it? Sort of
mixed vegetables,
curdy bread.
Oh, that smelled a bit like feta, but you couldn't smell it.
I couldn't smell it on account of my anosmia from having a broken nose. But it was sort of like milk curd bread.
Yeah, and he also mentioned bread. He mentioned oil, and he mentioned milk. And I think cooking it, and then he was sort of gesturing that maybe you knead it with your hands or something. It smelt a bit like feta or some Turkish cheese that I've had, a little bit tangy, but with chai. It was fantastic, wasn't it? And we were sitting in this like tiny wooden structure on top of a few others, no doubt. They all build their houses on top of one another, and the stonework's exceptional.
It was just cool to be sat there with these descendants of these original Afghan migrants who came in their original structures. It was really cool, wasn't it?
It was really special, just sitting on sort of a raised surface. How long had we been there before you realised there was a guy under a blanket asleep?
Was that a guy?
Yeah.
I thought that was a lady.
Well, a person.
Oh.
Yeah. Fully covered by a blanket.
Maybe the blanket was so feminine, I assumed. No, I knew immediately. I clocked them as soon as I walked in.
Oh, okay.
That's just one of the things I do to protect us as we're going around. I notice things, Adam.
Oh,
You're like, yeah, I want tea. Yeah, I want food. Let's walk headfirst into an Afghan village. I'm there scoping out the situation. There's a person under a blanket. What is this milky bread made from?
Suspicious. We were actually told just before entering the village that this is the last point you can go to, isn't it? You're not allowed to walk any further. And I actually thought that there was a Swiss guy with a guide who had done the walk as well. I'm pretty sure they did say you're not allowed into the village, and then moments later we were in the village having a chai in one of the traditional houses. So yeah, magical afternoon. Highly recommend. Absolutely loved that whole region.
Still having a good time here in Pakistan?
The best time.
Ready to do more?
Yeah.
What's next?
We're going east if we can get some fucking money.
If we can get some money out of an ATM, we'll decide to go east. And you, the tripological audience, can follow us there. You can write to us. If you have opinions about my coffee habit or Adam's amazing propensity to worm his way into Afghan villages, you can email us at tripologypodcast@gmail.com. Follow along with our adventures on Instagram at tripologypodcast, or support us on Patreon. patreon.com/tripologypodcasts. The Kalash people use walnuts. The Afghan people use a sort of milky, curdy bread. And if that's not a sign that we shouldn't all just try and get along in this wild, wonderful world, then I don't know what is. So think about that as we blast off into next week.
We'll see you there.
Bye.